Good day to all. Sam here with you. It's Friday, June 29th, midday here. And as it's Friday, that means we're going to do an update on Bitcoin. My partner Quan and I, we're going to split it up. I'm going to try and give you, some glimmer of hope for bulls. And he's going to give his view, which will give you the bearish count, just following up on where we left off from last Friday. So just a couple of quick reminders here. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter. Our handle is Trade Devils with an S, Trade Devils on Twitter. We're very active on there and really make an effort to engage with our followers there, and everything from chart challenges and polling amongst our Twitter followers to choose the coins that get or the assets that get analysis. And some other things that we offer, as well as you'll find links there to get to our public Discord if you want to kind of sample what we're all about within the university. So with that said, let's dig in here. Now, I'm going to propose to you that what we end up counting this as, I'm not sure at this point over here that it really matters. I don't know that it matters right here as we try and evaluate where an opportunity to find a reasonably low risk place to get long, if anyone's inclined to do that. So is it some sort of complex correction? Does this end up being 1, 2, 3, 4? That we're going to be able to come back once, if and when we get out of this downtrend, this correction ends, and we start to move higher, we'll be able to come back and get a final count on that. But right now, I'm going to tell you, it doesn't matter. What matters is, we've got the overriding, the dominant force in the market right now appears to be this algo pull here, right? So despite the fact that we break the golden zone by just a very small margin here, the fact that we've just been relentlessly down from that, it leads me to believe that this is the dominant force in the market. So we've got this, let me see if I can move this up here a little bit. So we've got this algo target down here at 5,200. So that number's been batted around quite a bit lately as a potential support level. Well, here's one reason for it. Right now, whether or not they're basing that off of this, very few people actually, percentage-wise, very few people know to look for that as an algo target. But you, my members and subscribers, you do know to look for that. So that may well be a potential pivot for us to consider. But we're not there yet, and we do have this median line that does seem to be influencing the market. Now, I'm pulling off of this pivot here. All right, so if we work up all the way to the pivot here, we're getting, I think that's a bit too aggressive on the short side. So a lot of times what you're doing with median lines is trying to get it's a bit of trial and error to see what the market's responding to. So here, if I go to shift, not great. I go modified. I like this, this, then back again. So it's one or the other. So this is a contender. You'd have to check this as well. So all of these need to be checked, right? And again, it's a bit of a, a trial and error to make an estimate on what the market seems to be responding to. So here we tap one, perfect tap. We're hovering around it. We get a perfect tap from the underside up to it, and we've headed back down. So it's one or the other seems to be influencing the market. I'm going to stick here until I see a stronger break or something that would have me thinking otherwise. So from this significant pivot here, which was I got it right on there. You got to get these right on. Okay, so that seems to be influencing the market now as we come down to here. So if nothing else, one thing I think we can look at here is say, okay, well, A, B, C, that's a contender. We've broken this down so many times. Again, this is what matters here, right? So this swing high, swing low, golden zone, here's my target. Are we going to 5,200? Well, we may be. Now, again, like I said, we're not there yet. So what I've done here, I've just put a horizontal line on this pivot here, and you can see we're literally trading right at that pivot point here. So price is hidden by. So if I move this, you can see there's my price level. So we are literally hovering on this pivot here. It's kind of interesting. So part of the reason I like to do that is I want to look left as well and see, was there anything else here, something I might be missing? Well, there's nothing below this, right? There is no other pivot here that I could run into. I do have this little shelf here that seems to have come into play here. This, as I recall, this was a 3, 4, 5. I think before we went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 again before that correction. So this little shelf, again, it's simple. Prior resistance offering support, potentially now support. If we break too far below it, that will become the resistance to try and get through on the other side. So again, just trying to spare you going through all of this yet again, as we've been through it so many times. Let's just keep it simple. All right, what have I got here? I got an A wave, I got a B wave, I've got some sort of a C going in. I don't know where the bottom is, but I've got a reasonable candidate here, and then there may be a reasonable candidate when we dig into this a little more closely. So this would put us down here. That's 5,200, and that's roughly 2 weeks away, mid-July. So, again, there it is, staring you in the face. It's hard to ignore it. But we're not there yet, and we're just hovering here now on this pivot. So for a bull, what can we draw out of this? Well, we got to dig down much lower. So I'm going to go down to, let's go to the hourly, and we'll take a look at it there, and then maybe down to the 15. So the things that are apparent here that we have to recognize and try and quantify, put them in some context. Otherwise, the point is to try and organize the market. So what can we qualify? Well, I've got 5s galore coming down. I've got lots of 5s, and I've got my little 3s. Well, I've been through this, and last Friday we went through this, but I can't ignore this 5 here. This is either a 1 or an A wave, as simple as that. Leaves very few possible outcomes here. Well, then I get my ABC. So whether this is an A or a 1 wave, again, when we get out of this hole, eventually we'll be able to come back here and qualify it. But I can't, fit that into some other. There it is. That's a 5, right? So I have to give that either a 1 or an A. Then I've got my little ABC. Now it's shallow, right? We know we've been through this. This is shallow for whether it's a B wave or a 2 wave. It's shallow, right? It doesn't even make the 38. So what does that mean? Well, the force of the trend, the downtrend here is so strong that whether or not that's algo's front running or for whatever reason, there's just too much momentum. So very, very weak effort to try and rally back. Now there was probably, as I look at it here, from that 4, well, we're even there. We're through the 65 before it rolls over again. May have been something here on the 2. Again, you're always checking pivots, looking for where are the footprints of where are those algo tracks. Could that have been it? Front run on the 50 off of this pivot? Could be. Got the second target. I like to see them precise, so that's maybe a contender. Again, all we're trying to do here is just what did they do last? What did they do last? So here, pulling that off. So 1A, I'm not even sure it matters just yet until we figure out where our bottom is. So it's something in 5, A or a 1. So if you were trying to follow along here and keep an alternate or a primary count, so you might have that as A, that has to be B, then we've gone into this 5-wave sequence. So if we're going to try and qualify it, I might do something like this, A, B, and this is one hell of a big C, so let's get that. We'll go to blue here, and we'll take it up a couple of degrees. We'll go to minuet. Okay, so large scale, there's an A, B, and then I do have this very pretty 5-wave coming down. And by pretty, I don't mean that in the context of if you're long Bitcoin. I mean just technically, it's awfully solid here. So from this pivot here, whether it's 1, 2 or A, B, I've got again a straight rip into a 1. I've got my little 3-wave 2. It appears that I yet again go 1, 2. You can see the 3-wave structure here, and then it looks like I could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into my 3. As we tap the median line, I get a little ABC into my 4. So I know this is technical here from this 2 to that 4. I look here, so to my 3. So there's my 4, and the first pivot down here, we come right to the algo target. We're a couple of ticks in front of it as a potential front run. It looked like there was a chance that, and this is I think going back to last week, it looked like we had a contender, and technically we have not broken that pivot, but when they get that close, the odds are it will break. So, but we do have this still sitting down here as the lowest low of this correction, at least as I sit here, but I'm on GDAX here now. Let me dig in here a little more closely and look at it. All right, so from that 4 here, I get a very deep 2, but we do not get a higher high. And it looks like I've got a little ABC down for 3, 4, 5. So that was the contender as a potential pivot here on the front run with the median line intersection here, that we had a contender as a 1, 2. Now, technically that still is valid as we've not taken out this low, but that's so close that I'm inclined to think that what we've got here now is another 5 wave going down. So what would that mean for us in terms of the larger count? Well, if this is my 4, then I'm putting in a 5. 5 is heading in somewhere down here. We don't know where. And the C will be with it. Now, is this a candidate? Well, it is a candidate. So if we think about that, if this is my 4, well, I've got some sort of a 5 wave structure here. So here, let me pull this apart and we'll break it down. All right, so here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if this is my 4, that has to be a 1 wave. Assuming we're going to continue to move lower, that's the only way to count that. So I've got a clean 5. So that's, shit, wrong one. Let's get rid of that. Come here. I want this one. So from here, there's a 1. Potentially that's a 2. Some sort of a 3 going in, but it has to be, it can't bottom down here. So it would have to be much lower, 4 and 5. So if we're going to count it that way, if this is our 4 and this is going to break and we're going to keep going lower, boy, it's hard to see this as anything other than very bearish. So let me get this into, we'll go, let's go minuet here. Okay, so that you can see it. So if that's the 4, then that would mean I'm getting yet another extension in my 5th. So I'm getting an extension in the 5th of the 5th. So look here, 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got a completed 5 here. Now again, it's possible that we double bottom down here and we don't put in a new low. It's possible. This would be the 3rd or the 4th time I've been doing a Bitcoin video with us within ticks of violating that low. So I'm inclined to think that there's at least one more push down there. Well, it's getting tougher to count this because I've got this clear completed 5. So here's the only other contender. Let me pull this off. For us to be holding, let's call it above 5 grand. Here's the only other way we can count this. So let me pull some of this off here and try and clean this up so you can see it. The only other way we can look at this is have it this way. So this would be the 3 down here. So we'd have to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into a 3. So pulling this off, that would mean from this 2, this very deep 2 to that 3, well, it plays, right? We go, here's the 50 right into the lips of the Vegas wave. So we've got a contender here. This can play. So 1, 2, 3 into the 4, and now I'm trying to figure out, can I come down here and bottom and finish this correction down here, right? So it's going to be the 5th of the 5th of the 5th. Eventually, we will hit a point where it will bottom. And I'm still a firm believer that there are going to be challenges to the old highs at some point. Getting harder and harder to make that call in terms of a timeline, but I think it is inevitable. So there it is, 1, 2, 3, 4 into the 4. Let me change that color so it's just a little easier to spot it. Okay, so then we 1, 2, 3, 4. So here's our contender for our 5. Well, A, B, C into that. So we've got to dig down to the 15-minute to try and carve this out. So from this as a 4, right here, let's go, am I on the... We got to go up a degree. Okay, so let's go to micro. Okay, so there it is. All right, so do we have the ingredients here for a potential bottom? Well, that sure looks like I've got 1A. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I think we've got this. So I think from here we've got 1A, B expanded flat into my 2. Some sort of a 3 going in. This looks more characteristic of of a fourth. So let's go to blue and we'll go back down on that. We'll go to submicro. All right, so A, B, so it's either here or it's here. So that we can check that. So let's see if we can break that apart. So if I think here about where my potential 2 is, come here. We know that 2, if we're looking here, well, that's 50 to the tick. So that would mean B, we get an expanded B wave here, taking out the one low, right? So I do think that's what we've got here because of how technical that is. And now we're going to the second target for our third. So 1A, B, C into the 2. If I pull it here, yeah, it goes. I like this for how precise that is. So 1, 2, 3 is in some sort of a 4 going in here. So we're already through that target. So let's think about what that would leave us. So from our 2, if that's the 3, right on there. So some sort of a choppy 4. This may have another little kick up into this zone here where we'd anticipate it. This is high probability zone for our 4. Vegas wave, 50% here. You know, so we have 2 contenders here. I actually want that. So whether it's this one or this one, these are both potential resistance points on the way back up. So that whole area just sets us up for a potential 4. Now, if we break this, well, we got to reconsider this as an impulse and consider it as a diagonal. ABC went down for the 3, some sort of a 4 going in. So it implies that there's one more little kick up here. So up we go for the 4, and then we come down in some sort of a 3, 4, 5. That would take us right to the median line. So potentially now something along these lines here. Median line, all of this lines up. Are we making the median line? Well, it will be a magnet. Now, does it? Again, I'm all hypothetical here. We don't know how it gets there. But that's a contender for us to finish this. That, you know, again, I'm eyeballing here. That's 5,600. So again, this is all hypothetical, but that's the pattern we'd be looking for to complete, you know, down here on a 15-minute. So finishing the 4, and then we start down for the 5. That would put us here if we're going to do it on the trend line. Then we think about length of the 1 projected from from that 4. So if that's my 1 and the 4 is going to be up in this range, well, there's 100%. So these are all contenders here we've got to look at. But until we actually get a 4 and we start back down again, assuming that's what happens, and I don't know, right? Nobody knows that's what's going to happen. But assuming we get something like that, then that's likely the resolution that we're looking for. And then you could just do some simple. Now let's do the pitchfork here. With something simple down here. So all of these pivots are going to matter. If that's 1, 2, 3. Looks like we may already have the 3. Whether the 4 breaks outside of that, I don't know. Again, with pitchforks, it's always a little bit of trial and error to see what fits. So that's possible here, as it seems to be containing the market. Now we might have to put. Let's get that hot. We might have to go to a parallel on that. So I might go to the 1.5 on the outer edges there. So as it appears that this, so we work in here again. It's just tricky to know which one it is. I still think it's this here. So from this lower pivot here, this looks like it's containing it. So we might do something like this in for the 4. That would not violate either one of these 1 lows here. That's something to be watching for. If we violate one of those, it potentially changes our count. So those will be important levels to look at, right? So if we get through one and not the other, then you got to make a judgment call as to whether or not we've got an impulse or a diagonal. So that's so if it's going to keep going down, it'd be easier for us to get a handle on it if we stay below both of those, allowing for either one of those to be our pivot. But this does seem to be holding it fairly well. So back down here, and then right here we get this intersection of 2 median lines. That would certainly be something to be watching for, as that's geometric confluence. So that's what I see there. You know, it's just a process of trying to find. Now, would I buy it here? No, I would not. And would not advise anyone to do that. What I would suggest, because we're just in this relentless downtrend, if we get a candidate for a pivot, well then, of course, just as we were looking for it here, we've got to come out of it in 5. So something along those lines. There's the buy, because you've got your out right here. We're looking for 3, 4, and 5. Can we get something like that coming out of it? Where's the buy? Here's the first buy. Here's the add. So again, you're not loading the boat here. This is just a, can we confirm? Because so far, every one of these has broken the low, broken the low. We have not been able to find a sequence here where we get a higher low and a higher high. It's been consistently just, of course, degree depends there, and the timeline depends. But even down here on the 15, it's just a series of corrections going into impulses. Threes correcting fives. Fives are taking us down. Threes are correcting it all the way down. It's been that way all the way down. Here's our 5 taking us down, 3 correcting us. 5 taking us down. It's been the entire way down. 5 take us down. Well, even here, from this, so that looks like that's A, B, C. 5s take us down, 3s correct us. Last time we had, here's 5 taking us down. Here's that first 5 right here. Big 5 taking us down, 3 correcting it. 5 taking us down, 3 correcting it. 5 taking us down, 3 correcting it. 5, you see, it's just all right, it's the nature of LA wave. It's waves within waves within waves. Until we get a good solid 5 that changes the trend, or at least creates the opportunity for a trend change, it's any buys have to be light. Have to be light with a clear exit point where you go, okay, well, even though it might come down here and bounce, it's not worth taking the risk. So you want to be clear on where you're out. So again, if you're a buyer on the 2, potentially on the 2, I'd keep the size light and a stop under the pivot. No need to do anything like less. It's just, again, it would be a small, relative to your account size, should be a small entry here. If you get the turn, great. Stop goes to break even. You can trade the 4 into the 5. You get the 4 into the 5, well, then we're looking for a 1-2. So again, hypothetically, we do this. If we pivot here, then the next buy is right here between the 50 and the 618. So you've made a little money coming off the low, assuming we get something like this. So if you're a buyer here, caught the move here, partial, add, full profit, wait for the reload, and we go again. So you'd be looking for the ABC to come bring it down, and then we go again. That's what we need to see. We need to see that first impulse that's clear, clean. That hasn't been the case with Bitcoin. They've been very difficult to try and get a count on, and most of the attempted rallies, even as we saw it here, right, have just failed and turned into 3s. So 1, 2, 3s turning into ABC and then rolling down into another 5. Until that trend breaks, you're trying to catch the falling knife. So why? Again, no reason to. If you get a pivot, you get a little 3-wave retrace, buy it. No reason not to. Tight stop, not going to hurt you. You shouldn't allow that to hurt you. From that distance here, from 56.87 hypothetically to 56.32, that's a 50 tick range. So that should be something that anyone could manage. Now, if you catch it, the idea is not to say, oh, I caught the low in Bitcoin. Well, you might have, but that really is not. Would you just buy it there and hold it on the assumption that we're going back to 20K? That's not what I would suggest. Trade it, because it's not going to go straight up. There'll be plenty of retracements along the way, places to add, partial profits. That's engaged in the trading process. Otherwise, what's the point of all this? Right? You just buy. Well, if you liked it at 6, you're going to like it at 5. You like it at 5, you're going to love it at 4. So you got to decide how do you want to engage with the market? Do you want to try and trade the swings? Or are you just a long-term buyer? Well, then this is. Why are you watching this? Now, if you want to learn how to do this and really master this, because this is something that takes practice. This is a skill set, and you got to be willing to do the work, right? So, if you think about what we offer to you, while we do a lot of trade management, sorry guys, we do a lot of trade management, but we are not really a call service, as in trade calls, log in, here's your trade of the day. What we're trying to do at Trade Devils is teach you how to do this yourself. So you don't need anyone's counsel. Now, you might want to participate with us on the Discord because there's a real sense of community there. And trading can be isolating. As I've mentioned this before, it's an isolating thing. If you're just sitting by yourself in your office or your home or wherever you're trading, there is benefit to feeling a sense of connection to other traders that are approaching the market with with a like-minded technical approach. So I think there is real value in that. But ultimately, the purpose of becoming a member at Trade Devils is to give you the skill set so that you don't need anybody's counsel on any chart you ever look at for the rest of your life. You won't need it, because once you get this skill set internalized, well, one, you'll never trade the same way again. You'll never look at a chart the same way again. And you'll understand what's involved here, because solving the puzzle, as I've said many times before, that's kind of the fun part. If this appeals to you, and I've got to assume if you're watching this video, you like that idea of trying to solve the puzzle. It's consumed me professionally for 20-something years. But that's the fun part. The difficult part is managing yourself, managing the risk, managing your emotions. This is the fun part, solving the puzzle. But you want to be a successful trader? That's managing yourself, managing the money, managing the risk, not repeating mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. I make mistakes all the time. The goal is not perfection, as I've said before. That's an unattainable goal, and nor should you strive for it. The goal is to consistently be making intelligent trading business decisions. So if you bought it here and you were stopped out, the question is not, oh man, well, that was a dumb trade. No, that's not the way to think of it. Or if you looked at this the last time we did a video, there was a potential here for this to be a 1-2. Well, it's gone so deep now that that's much less likely. Even though, technically we've not broken that by a few dollars. As a 1-2, so if you traded this and you bought at the 618 and you got stopped out, that's not a bad trade. That's not a winning trade. It's not a profitable trade. But if you bought that, it shouldn't have hurt you too badly. If you took a stop under the 65 or under the 786, that's a jab. That's just the reality of trading. That's going to happen to you more times than not. But was it a solid risk management decision to potentially be a buyer here, knowing you've got to have a stop here or under the 786 as your last call? That's a solid trade, and one that I really want to emphasize to you. You have to keep taking that trade. Well, I shouldn't say it that way. You don't have to, but what I would tell you is that here's the perversion of the market. The one time that you don't do it because you're like, I don't know, I'm going to let this thing. I guarantee you that's the time it runs, because not doing it is a mistake. And there is it's almost a perversion to the market in that it punishes mistakes. So going through all of the analytical work to get to that pivot and then not taking it, that's the mistake. And the market will punish you for that. And not taking it means that's the one that'll go. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't take the next one. Right? So if you're like, I'm so underwater, I'm getting buried in alts. If you're just, everybody's struggling with crypto right now because it's going down. Right? So, and the vast majority of crypto traders are not shorting the market. Right? They're retail traders. They're not shorting the market. And there are legitimate reasons to be not shorting the market. But if you're underwater here and you're looking for a place to recover, there's nothing wrong with waiting for that first motive wave to show itself and then taking the second one. You don't have to catch this one. So don't misunderstand what I'm saying. But if you get that 5 and you don't take the second one, well, now you've repeated the mistake twice. And I promise you that will be the one that goes. Now you're dealing with the sort of self-flogging that'll come in and go, God damn it, I knew that was sitting right there. I knew it. I tracked the whole thing. There was the perfect trade. And I hesitated. That's the mistake. And the market will punish you for that. It's just not always, but over time, it's the mistake of not taking the trade when it's presented because you're nervous or you're scared or you took a loser on the last one or the last 2 or the last 3. You got to keep pulling the trigger. It's just, and that's not to do it blindly. You got to qualify each one of these trades, but then take the trade. Have the stop, but take the trade and adjust your size accordingly to what's appropriate for your account. But this takes practice. And that's to a large degree, much of what we're offering you is a place to practice within that Discord and get immediate feedback from either me or I've got 6 trading coaches in there. We call them senseis. All of them there to respond to you, to take your direct messages, to validate or invalidate your accounts, to help you learn this and internalize it so that the next time that you see this or this, that's a reflex. There is no, oh, I'm not sure if I should take that. No, there's the trade, there's the risk, there's the reward, pull the trigger. All right, guys, I got on a bit of a rant there. I didn't mean to do that. But here, so we watch and wait for the next setup. Don't like this one? Please take that one. All right, guys, that'll do it.